It's not been a good week, a good month, a good first term so far for Joe Biden. Let's be honest about this. And the most recent situation that has unfolded is the demasking of people on airplanes, which should be just a good thing. Everybody should be happy about this, right? Masks don't actually stop the spread of COVID. We've been aware of this for almost 2 years now. It has been obvious to anybody with eyes and who was willing to look at the data and reality. But beyond that, it's a marker of the passage of the pandemic in so many ways. Psychologically, there's big benefit here. Oh, but the Democrat left is freaking out about this because, they want to wear masks still on planes. And so Joe Biden is now in a position where they have to figure out, this judge has forced their hand. Are they going to slap masks back on people on planes? DOJ has announced it will appeal the mask mandate ruling. The Department of Justice and Centers for Disease Control and Prevention disagree with the district court's decision and will appeal, subject to the CDC's conclusion that the order remains necessary for public health. Wait, but hold on. So are they appealing or not? You'll notice it's a contingent appeal because their left-wing lunatic base is, how can you get rid of masks on planes? They say, oh, don't worry, we're appealing if the CDC tells us we have to appeal. And you get the sense that from the other side of the mouth, they're saying, CDC, we don't want to appeal this. We don't want to deal with the heat. Because the one thing the Democrats want above all else is power. And they want to be able to evade accountability in order to maintain power. They want to be in a position to say, hey, it's not our fault that all this terrible stuff happened to you, like COVID lockdowns and mask policies and everything else. They'll just rewrite the history of the lie about it. If they do those things going into an election, well, then that gets harder to lie about, right? It's harder when people are just about to vote and you say, oh, we're not responsible for the COVID policies that are useless, stupid, oppressive, and annoying, because they are. So Jen Psaki says that Biden is going to appeal the ruling on the federal mask mandate just so that they have the authority, if they need to use it again in the future. They want the power, you see. Watch.
Right now, we of course are deferring to the CDC on what they believe is needed at this moment. They obviously put in place this 2-week extension because they felt they needed that to take a look at the data, given that we've seen a rise in cases. So we certainly anticipate to hear more from them soon on their ask for being able to have that time, which we think is entirely warranted. And the Department of Justice, as you noted, has indicated that they would appeal, not just because they think it's entirely reasonable, of course, to have this additional time to look at it, but because they think that for current and future public health crises, we want to preserve that authority for the CDC to have in the future.
Oh, we want to make sure the CDC can mask you up again whenever they feel like it going forward. That's what's going on here, friends. That's how they're trying to play the game. Yeah, people are psychos. They really are. They're terrifying. Anyway, but this is bad for Biden because it forces his hand and people realize that the Democrat base, when it comes to masks and COVID, are a bunch of lunatics. But then there are other issues too, things that even Democrats recognize are a big problem, aren't good. Things like the high price of basically everything you need to live these days. So what does Joe Biden do? Now, remember, this is a guy who you would think would be talking about what a great job he's done, right? Because he was going to bring back normalcy and he was going to help middle-class families and the economy grow up from the middle out, not the top down, all this other crap, all the talking points that old man Biden's been spewing for a while now. But the price of everything, including gas and food and rent and used cars, is really high. It got really high while he was president. So what does he do? This is Biden yesterday blaming COVID.
So let's be absolutely clear about why we have such high prices now. There are 2 reasons. First was COVID. The way the global economy works, if a factory in Vietnam makes computer chips and shuts down in Vietnam because of a COVID outbreak, it causes a ripple effect to slow down manufacturing in Detroit, where they need those semiconductors to build the automobiles. So because of the pandemic, we had disruptions in our supply of important materials. So prices went up.
It is really stunning that that guy is the president of the United States, to be honest with you. I mean, he's just so clearly not up for this. And the people that have put him in this position, it's grotesque, but they'll do anything for power, obviously. So he's blaming, you know, there's COVID. Oh, and there's also putting the blame for inflation on Vladimir Putin. Watch this one.
And the second big reason for inflation is Vladimir Putin. Not a joke. Putin's invasion of Ukraine has driven up gas prices and food prices all over the world. Two major bread baskets of wheat in the world were Ukraine and Russia. The United States is number 3, and Canada number 4. Well, we saw the most recent inflation data. Last month, about 70% of the increase in inflation was a consequence of Putin's price hike because of the impact on gas and energy prices. I'm doing everything I can to bring down the price to address Putin's price hike.
Putin's price hike. Yeah, they came up with this. The poll-tested, focus grouped, political consultant, Putin's price hike. That's really going to do it. If you look at a chart of inflation, you'll notice that many months before there was any problem at all in Ukraine with regard to the Russian invasion, right around when Joe Biden took office in 2021, all of a sudden inflation starts to go up and things were more expensive over the course of last year. It turns out that when you spend trillions of dollars and tell people to stay home and get a paycheck instead of facing the dangerous virus, which we all had to do anyway, so none of this made any sense, there are economic consequences, which some of us were warning about from the beginning. But Joe Biden would rather play the blame game and distract people from reality. Here's a tweet from 2 years ago, by the way. This is when Donald Trump was president. The president needs to stop blaming others and do his job, right? That was April of 2020. And this is him today. This is the reality of Joe Biden today. A guy who just says it's everyone else's fault. Somehow it's everybody else's fault. Price increases, March year over year. Food up 8%, housing 5%, gas 48%. Medical services only 2.9%. And here's a graph, by the way, showing the rise. And I don't even have time to cover all the disasters. We're running out of time in this segment to cover all of the Biden disasters that it just keeps getting worse every week. Here's the border encounters, which means apprehensions. In March of 2022, 221,000. This is one of the highest numbers we've ever seen for a month, ever. Not a surprise. Biden's approval, by the way, 33% according to Quinnipiac. That's the most recent. 33%.
Don't miss American Scandal, Hunter Biden. A new First TV exclusive special hosted by Buck Sexton. Available right now only on the First TV app.